So I want to do a video about my path working with azazel, and so I started working with azazel. Um, it's interesting because a lot of my path working with the demonic gatekeepers was initiated by my work with Lilith and then with Lucifer. So they took me to visit Azazel. At first, he wouldn't show himself to me or show his true form yet. So um, And I didn't really get a whole lot of information the first time, but the next time he appeared through a gateway, and we were in the underworld, and it was sort of like this little kind of arch, and I'd asked him some questions, and um, one of the things I asked him, and this ended up working into some of the products that I've made that deal with azazel, is I asked him like what kind of like plants or flowers he likes, and he said he liked poppy flowers. So if you need to make an offering to azazel, poppy flowers. Who knew? Um, so this is some of the things that we talked about, and he said to me. He said, "Creation is destruction, and destruction is creation." Belial chided in something to the extent of "always with the riddles." And a lot of times, and especially in more recent workings, like I work with Belial and Azazel together a lot now. So they have this funny relationship, like this, almost like a sibling rivalry, like they're brothers. They make fun of each other a lot. So Azazel at this time revealed to me more about Amamiel. And I go over this a little bit more in the video that I did specifically, Amamiel, A Personal Gnosis. That's on my channel. And he just to kind of give you a little synopsis of this. Amamiel was sort of a surrogate mother of fallen angels. So of the sort of demonic realm that is comprised of fallen angels, there was some familiarity with her, and she originally lived in early or pre-Sumerian Mesopotamian, that kind of time frame, and she was a healer and shaman among her people. And it had been a very long time since she walked the earth because she's someone who's manifested through me. And at this time, he said something about the awakening that is or about to happen. Um, After Amamiel died in the physical realm, she chose to reside in the underworld. And Azazel talks a lot about like he reveals things. He's a good teacher. He says things like he said that time was not linear in the past, and timelines overlapped. I think Lilith mentions this at one point in time too. She was talking about the fall of the fallen angels and things like that. Um, anyways, we talk about Azazel and I talked about the fall of Lucifer and the rebel angels. Amamiel served as a surrogate mother figure to them in the underworld. He noted that she helped him mend his wings. She became the mother of fallen angels. She wanted to have children through my incarnation, but sadly that did not happen. I asked Azazel for help with attaining financial success with my business and various things that kind of go, various details, so I don't want to get into with that. And working with demonic spirits in the astral realm, and about my path as being a dark herbalist. I asked how I could repay the help in achieving my goals, but it was unclear other than speaking the truth and spreading the message of the demonic gatekeepers, which is interesting because looking at the time frame of when I would have started working with Azazel, my business has grown a lot and has been doing really, really well. So go Azazel. In the video that I did about Belial, I mentioned that, and this is where I started working with Belial and Azazel at the same time, is that they did what I call this like psychic surgery on me, where in the astral realm, where they sort of activated something within me for the awakening, enlightenment, ascension process. And they also mentioned that Lucifer has been watching over me for a long time. And they let me experience a moment with my Buster Kitty who passed away in January in the astral realm, which was really nice. So this journey started off with Lucifer, and we traveled to Azazel's lair. Sometimes I think Lucifer has like sort of vampiric qualities to him. We flew down a never-ending well to the underworld to visit Azazel. I entered his realm for the first time. It was weirdly pastoral, with large stakes and spikes, and in the center, a massive black obsidian obelisk. At the base was a ring of ruby, or a huge ruby with gold flourishes around the base of the obelisk. Azazel told me the purpose of the obelisk was energy manifestation and something else. I'm not sure what that something else was. If you touch the obsidian, it opened wormholes to other places. The ruby generates whatever you choose to manifest. At some point, we went to a medical type room so they could work on the psychic surgery, junk DNA removal. And Belial shows up, and they work to strengthen and activate the code in my DNA. I asked them to fix the joint pain in my right hand and the rash. That's still kind of there, so they got some work to do. They are also preparing me to be able to split my consciousness so I can stay in the astral realm while they work, even though my body can get up and go grab a drink or go pee, because I'm human. Without having to go through the whole induction process over again, which I've actually gotten quite good at. And since then, I've been able to bilocate in the astral realm, and had a really weird dream this week. Entirely different scenario, but in the dream, I lost consciousness and had an out of body experience where I was viewing my unconscious body in the dream. Very weird. It was just a very disturbing dream all around. So at this point, Belial said that my greatest asset is also my greatest weakness, and that is my need to love and be loved. And boy, howdy, was he right. Azazel still hasn't taken on any particular form yet. I spoke with him about making a pact, I still have to do this. I'm to write out the pact on parchment paper, signed in blood. It must be stored in a special box that I actually have. For pacts, he said he wanted nothing in return save for a later favor. So as we all know, I don't sleep very well. Or maybe you don't know that, but I don't sleep very well. And I was having a lot of trouble over the summer, so but it turns out some of the sleep issues I was having then was that Belial and Azazel were still messing with my code base, and they had to reboot me a couple times, and then I would sleep for like 18 hours. So I needed the extra sleep to install the new programming. A few weeks later, I had a weird dream about summoning Azazel by dropping to the ground and slamming my hand at the four quarters. And also there was a table with all my dead friends and family members. It was a gift. I remember hugging Valerie, who was a friend of mine who passed away. And then it was at this point I was starting to do the path working with Lucifuge, Rofocal. So I've been overlapping and intertwining a lot of my path working in unique ways because I've never been one to follow rules. It's just how I work. Because, I may have started with, Lilith or Belial and Lucifer, but, I still go back and work with them. It's not like, okay, I did my work with you, I'm done, whatever. And there's, demons that I work with more than others. Like, I haven't really worked with Baal as much as, say, Lucifer. I haven't worked with Lucifuge that much. So I've done some of the path working, but it's an ongoing process. It's not something you're ever really. You can just decide to be done with it. Like, it's just, I did my pacts with Lucifuge and, revisit them at a later date, that kind of thing. Next working I had with Azazel, we were in a giant, massive evergreen tree. He said it was the tree of life. I don't know that's necessarily the tree of life per se from the Kabbalistic or Cliffoff, which is actually technically the tree of death. But I asked if he and Belial could help me remove my sadness, anger, hurt, and remaining love. This was after I broke up with my boyfriend. I just wrote, he is a lost soul who refuses to be found, until at which time he can be found and awaken. I can't be there, and I had to let him go. We went back to the medical exam room so he and Belial could do the psychic excision and etheric cord cutting after I fell asleep. And lucifuge at the same time for some reason. They explained how there are trans-dimensional entities capable of being in multiple places at the same time. Lucifuge said, yeah, Asmodeus is at 30 different orgies right now. Lucky bastard. They also said how they appear and interact with us is based on our personality, and they've keyed into my love of the absurdity, surrealism, and dark humor. I think one of the most important things Azazel said, sometimes the things they say can be really succinct, but so on point. Azazel said, stop trying, just be. I think he was right. Also, at this point in time, I had just recently built my astral temple, and Azazel gave me a goat tree. Now, if you're not familiar, do a Google image search for goat tree. There's a particular kind of tree, I think it's in Morocco or Tunisia, where goats just climb and hang out in these trees. So it's just like this big, it's a relatively low tree, but it's a big tree. And it'll just be like 20 goats hanging out in a tree. So I have one of those now in my astral garden. Or my astral temple garden. So I noted in my journal, for various favors and things and work that I've done with the demonic gatekeepers and dark goddesses, I kind of had notes on like, okay, this one wants this in return, this one wants that. And at some point in time, I had a 3 a.m. steak medallions wrapped in bacon with potatoes with Azazel. It was yummy. In the more recent workings with Azazel and Belial is they're doing some additional genetic code modifications. I asked them to work on installing some programming to do limited mind control, telepathic communications, and being able to have shared dreaming and astral experiences with others. So I'll let you know how that works out. So on miscellaneous astral adventures, I worked with Belial and Azazel in my dark garden astral temple. I had them tie off my etheric cord to my ex-boyfriend because I tried to reopen it and then that just was bad because it made me really sad. So Belial had one of those horse head masks on and at one point was throwing figs at the goats in my goat tree that Azazel gave me. I think he was trying to annoy Azazel. Because that's how they roll. They're very strange. So Azazel gave me a task to do. He said that I need to finish writing the book to my ex-boyfriend that and to say what I need to say. I don't wanna. It's just hard. But they make you do hard shit, which sucks but is awesome. Like, even if I never give it to them, I just need to, like, write what's going on. And it sucks. Boy, howdy does it suck. Belial and Azazel came to visit my astral temple. I asked them for help with attuning my astral mind control powers. Belial was feeding the goats in my goat tree apples. I asked them how, this is going to go into an entirely different story, so I'm going to pause on that. Also at this time, Abaddon snuck in for a visit to my astral temple, and I was like, Abaddon, I know that's you, because that mountain wasn't there before. Like I said, Abaddon is huge. So Azazel, I allowed Azazel to possess me for the first time, and to visit the source. And realizing what I need and what I've done on my own, I thought that I needed someone to help me balance my light and darkness, but I did it on my own myself. So he possessed me and we ascended straight up through the different realms and atmosphere. I saw and heard radio and television waves and images pass by on their own journey. We passed through the celestial realm where the spirits live. We got closer to the source energy, but it was so overwhelming that I blacked out within the astral realm. So I woke up exhausted and my ears have actually not stopped ringing since then. And I don't know when this was, but my ears have just been like non-stop ringing. Not like I've been to any loud concerts lately. This was the point. Azazel must have had the munchies while he was possessing me because he ate the whole goddamn bag of cinnamon mini donuts. So that kind of takes you up to the present time and where I've worked with Azazel. There's some other sub-stories that are in other videos where I've worked with all the demonic gatekeepers or things that have shown up And there's my cat behind me. Hi, Corey. So Corey has decided to join me for the end of the video, but I just want to say that's kind of where I'm at with Azazel right now. I'm continuing to work with him and usually with Belial at the same time. And thank you for watching my video. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. And thank you to my Patreon supporters. And I'll talk to y'all again soon. Bye.